Chapter 12. Catastrophe. Noor was up making a cup of coffee for herself when Fadi and his father returned to their apartment the next morning. Fadi was exhausted but happy, and since it was Saturday he could sleep in. He'd spent the entire night travelling around the city with his father. When the taxi had had no passengers, Fadi had helped his father memorise a stack of maps kept in the car's glove compartment. They'd both watched the sun come up over the Golden Gate Bridge, which Fadi was a bit disappointed to learn was painted red and not gold. After dropping off the last passenger in Berkeley, near the University of California campus, they'd returned home. "Good morning, Noor," said Habib. "Good morning, father," said Noor. "Would you like some coffee?" "No thanks, I'm off to bed. By the way, I hope you didn't mention what happened last night to your mother." Noor shook her head. "She's been asleep the whole time." "Good." Relief flooded Habib's face. "No need for her to worry unnecessarily. She has a lot on her mind as it is. I'll see you both later this afternoon then." Noor sipped her coffee and ate a slice of toast as Fadi handed his father his passport and the old tickets. Habib patted him softly on the back and went into the bathroom to take a shower before heading off to bed. "Your bedroll is in my room," said Noor. She gave Fadi a calculating look that made him a little nervous. "Why don't you take a nap in there, and when my shift ends at 1, come meet me, and bring my library books with you." Fadi looked at Noor and wondered why she wanted to see him, but he was too tired to worry about it now. "Okay," he mumbled. "I'll see you then." As he dragged his backpack behind him towards Noor's bedroom, he heard his sister's voice one last time. "And put my watch back where you found it." He put the Mickey Mouse watch back on her nightstand and collapsed onto her bed. Within moments, he was asleep. "Why did I ever agree to meet her?" thought Fadi, with growing trepidation. He pulled on the rumpled clothes he'd been wearing the day before and ambled into the kitchen for a glass of orange juice. "She's going to yell at me, then pound me. I just know it." But he had to face his sister sometime, and obviously the time had come. In a strange way, he was looking forward to it, relieved that things were going to clear up between them, however things turned out. He put Noor's library books in a bag and left the apartment after checking in on his mother. She was asleep under a pile of blankets as usual. She was having trouble getting out of bed these days. Carla Nilufer had whispered to him the other day that although his mother's body was getting better, her mind was taking a lot longer. Plus, all the strong medication didn't help. They'd made her sleepy and out of sorts. It was an unexpectedly cool day for the beginning of the second week of September, and Fadi shivered a little, wishing he'd thought to bring a sweatshirt. He jogged through the parking lot of a grocery store and headed towards Paseo Padre Parkway. He slowed as a McDonald's came into view. He came around the back, half expecting to see Noor waiting for him in the alley, but she wasn't there. She's probably inside because of the cold. He walked to the front door and held it open for an older couple to walk through. He spotted Noor sitting at a table facing the front window, overlooking the main street. She looked preoccupied, watching a group of kids go by. "How was Mum when you left?" she asked as he pulled up a seat. "Oh, fine, taking a nap," responded Fadi, grabbing the box of chicken nuggets she held out. She'd chosen his favourite dipping sauce, honey mustard. "It's a good thing she doesn't know about your escapade last night," said Noor, giving him a measured look. Fadi mumbled, his mouth full. "Did you try to run away?" she asked point blank. Fadi started to cough and Noor had to whack him on the back. "Not so hard," he complained. "And no," he mumbled, I didn't try and run away." "Well, what were you doing then?" Fadi chewed for a full 10 seconds, took a sip of soda, and finally answered. "I was going to look for Mariam," he mumbled. "Are you crazy? How are you going to go and do that?" And for the second time in 24 hours, Fadi explained his half-baked plan. "Wow, That takes guts, she said, playing with her straw. Fadi blinked. She's not telling me I'm an idiot. Idiotic for sure, but ballsy, she said and grinned. Fadi smiled back, bits of nuggets stuck between his teeth. Oh, gross, she yelled, throwing a French fry at him. Fadi laughed and slurped some soda. So, did Dad let you have it? She asked. No, he was really nice about it, but he yelled at me for hiding in the trunk of his taxi. Well, yeah, said Noor. You could really have hurt yourself. He has a lot on his mind, said Fadi softly. And both of them looked at each other and then looked away. Mariam was there, hanging over them like a ghost. How come you haven't told them? Asked Noor in a quiet voice, interrupting his thoughts. Huh? About Tom? Who's Tom? The guy with the tattoos. Then it dawned on Fadi what she was talking about. Oh, him. The one you were hanging out in the back. Yeah, said Noor, turning pink. He's not my boyfriend or anything like that, she added. He's a senior at my high school and he's going to the University of California, Berkeley, next year to study astrophysics. Wow, Berkeley, Fadi whistled. He'd remembered driving past the sprawling campus the night before. Yep, he's really smart and very helpful. With different stuff. Well, it's none of my business. Thanks, she said. It's just that I haven't made that many friends and Tom is a really nice guy. Someone I can talk to. My lips are sealed. She looked relieved. So, said Noor, changing the subject. What's this photo club thing? A bunch of nerds clicking away? Fadi frowned. No, it's nothing. It's not nothing, Fadi, said Noor. I can see that it's important to you. It's a club where you learn how to take better pictures, said Fadi, his face stiff. There's a competition and the winner gets to go on a photo shoot. You can go to China, Africa, or India. India? Said Noor. Comprehension dawned on her face. Yup, India, said Fadi. Right next door to Pakistan. Wow, she said with a whistle. That's quite an opportunity. Fadi nodded. But it's $50 to join and it's too expensive, like Mum said. We don't have that kind of money to waste. Noor sat back, a calculated look on her face again. I've seen the pictures you and Dad used to take, she said. They were pretty good. Thanks, I guess. So, you think you can win? I'd try my hardest. Noor pulled out her wallet and took out 2 crisp 20s and a wrinkled $10 note. I'll give you the money. Fadi eyed the money with longing. I don't know, he whispered. That money could pay bills, help with the groceries. Take it, said Noor. She put the money into his hand with a conspiratorial smile. I'm not trying to buy you off, you know. Fadi grinned, the weight lifting from his shoulders. Hope flared in his heart again. This is an omen. I know I'm going to win. I just know it. Fadi practically ran to school on Tuesday morning, Noor's money safely tucked away in an envelope in his backpack. He flew up the steps and jerked open the front door. He fairly skipped down the crowded halls on his way to homeroom. As usual, students were milling around the halls, whispering to one another. But the looks on their faces were different. Fadi glanced at the table the School Tree Huggers Association had set up to raise money for a campaign to clean up local beaches. Their collection boxes, decorated with peace signs, stood unattended. They weren't laughing or joking around. They were whispering. And they looked scared. Did you see the news this morning? Said the boy in a giant's cap. Fadi slowed, pretending to adjust his backpack. Yeah, I can't believe it, said the girl next to him. My mum freaked out, interrupted her friend. She has family in New York and was trying to call them all morning. They gave each other anxious looks as Fadi paused. What is going on? He thought. a prickle of unease creeping down his spine. He hurried on to homeroom and took his seat. He had unfinished maths homework to take care of. Homeroom passed as usual, with Mr. Torres coming in late, wearing an orange and white striped sweater. "Good morning, guys," he said. The room was unusually quiet as students took their seats. Mr. Torres stood at the board, looking a bit dazed, more so than usual. He opened his mouth to say something and then closed it. He shook his head while running his hands through his rumpled hair and reached for the day's announcements. Fadi exchanged a questioning look with Patty, who was passing notes to her girlfriends. He shrugged at everyone's weird behaviour. All he could think of was going to photo club at the end of the day. As Fadi exited language arts later that afternoon, he passed the water fountains and spotted Felix shoving a small 6th grader out of line to take a drink. Fadi hurried on towards the cafeteria for lunch. "You gonna buy me lunch today, rich boy?" he heard Felix calling out after him. Pretending he hadn't heard, Fadi avoided the cafeteria, planning to hide out in the library. He passed the teacher's lounge and slowed down. The door was slightly open, and he could see Mr. Torres's loud sweater. "I can't believe it," said Mr. Torres. "This was no accident. 2 planes hit the Twin Towers and another crashed into the Pentagon." "Oh my God," came a woman's worried voice. Fadi stopped, waiting to hear more. The door to the lounge opened and Principal Hornstein hurried out, smoothing the wisps of grey hair around his head. He gave Fadi a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes and hurried towards his office. By the time Fadi headed towards the art studio after school, he pieced together what had happened through fragmented conversations he'd heard throughout the day. Terrorists had crashed planes into 2 skyscrapers in New York and at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Around a dozen kids were sitting in the art studio when he entered. Anne was there and smiled when she saw Fadi. "Hey," she said, "you made it." "Yeah," said Fadi, "I made it." "So sorry I'm late," said Miss Bethuna. "I received some news. My brother works at the Pentagon, you see." She stopped for a moment, a blank look on her face. "I heard kids talking about the planes," blurted an Indian boy. Then he snapped his mouth shut. His face looked a little green. "Yes, Ravi," said Miss Bethuna, straightening her spine. "I'm afraid there's been an attack. Planes crashed into the Pentagon this morning and, well, my brother called to tell us he was okay." "Oh," Ravi gulped as the other students looked at one another. "I'm sure you will discuss it with your parents when you get home," said Miss Bethuna. "I'm going to cancel photo club today, but I'll take your membership dues." Fadi unzipped his backpack to remove his money. His hand brushed the honey tin, and he paused. The familiar square shape filled his palm, and he gently squeezed it before letting go. He pulled out the envelope and handed it to Miss Bethuna, who was passing around sheets of paper. Fadi's heart raced as he read the title. "Take Your Best Shots Contest Guidelines." "Take these and read them at home," instructed Miss Bethuna. "If you want to enter the contest, you need to give me your pictures by October 11th. I need to send them to Société Géographique by the 12th. Next week we can discuss what you might want to photograph, and I'll give you guys rolls of film. Following Tuesday we'll start learning how to use the darkroom." "Cool," murmured Ravi. Fadi skimmed over the page and saw that the results of the competition would be announced December 1st, and the awards ceremony would take place in San Francisco the following week or so. He looked at the grand prize. The digital camera held no meaning for him. He wanted those 2 tickets to India. To do that, he had to come up with something so original and awesome that it stood out from the rest of the entries. The rules said you could take pictures of anything. You could be as creative as you wanted to. But what would win the competition?